9 News at 10.
Well, as expected, the Department of Justice announced today that it has officially filed a notice to appeal a federal judge's ruling to end mask mandates on planes, trains, and public transit systems. The DOJ and CDC disagree with Monday's decision to remove mask mandates. The appeal does not block the judge's decision, however, so passengers will be allowed to travel without a mask while the case is being litigated. Meanwhile, in Las Cruces, students at New Mexico State University who are not vaccinated either need to get the COVID-19 vaccine or be disenrolled from the university. Thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Andy Morgan. KTSM 9 News reporter Shelby Kapp is live from NMSU, where she spoke with officials and students. Shelby, how many students on campus have already gotten the COVID-19 vaccine?
Well, Andy, officials here at NMSU tell me that 91% of students are already vaccinated for COVID-19. But I did speak with a student today who is not vaccinated, and she tells me if she can't get a vaccine exemption, she won't be returning to school here in the fall, even though she's on track to graduate next spring.
You basically put so many years here and money and work to go to college, and now it's, it's an ultimatum.
Engineering student Kimberly Vasquez says she was already let go from her on-campus job as faculty was required to get vaccinated back in January, but was hoping she could still go to school at the university without having the vaccine.
You can get approved for an exemption or you can transfer. So that's basically what anyone who is unvaccinated is facing right now.
We don't want to lose our students. Our students are the reason we're here, but we do want them to be safe. We want to make sure they're safe.
The COVID-19 project manager for NMSU says students were notified of the requirement on Monday.
They have the option for a medical or religious exemption, but they must have one of those exemptions approved. If they opt not to vaccinate, they do face disenrollment, because this is our long-term plan to keep our community and our faculty, staff, and students as safe as possible.
Saying for students to be considered vaccinated, they must have both doses of 2-dose vaccines or 1 dose of the Johnson & Johnson. We asked a student who was already vaccinated what they thought about the new requirement.
There's always online school as an option. I think that safety is our biggest priority, but at the same time, I feel like we've dealt with this for so long now, and now we don't even have our mask mandate.
Well, students who are going to be on campus for any reason need to have their vaccine by July 1st, and any incoming students or transfers have until August 1st. Andy, back to you.
And Shelby, I know up until now NMSU has been testing those students who aren't vaccinated. So what's going to happen with testing now? Will that continue, or will this decision by the university, will that ultimately get rid of testing now?
Officials tell me that testing is actually going to end on May 5th, and they say that's part and due to that uncertainty of how much longer these COVID-19 tests are going to be available for free, in addition to how much time it's taking them to actually test all of those students who are not vaccinated.
Our Shelby Kapp live for us tonight on the campus of New Mexico State University. Shelby, thank you. We're learning new details tonight on that shooting in a Far East El Paso desert that led to the death of a young El Paso woman. As we've reported, 24-year-old Efren Orozco has been charged with the murder of 21-year-old Karina Tobias. According to the complaint affidavit, Orozco was target shooting in a desert area on Montwood Drive on April 10th. Court documents state that the victim was recording the scene with her cell phone. Moments later, Orozco allegedly pointed the gun at her and pulled the trigger. Orozco told investigators he thought the weapon was empty. The victim suffered a gunshot wound to the head and died 2 days later. Investigators recovered the phone. Orozco remains in jail under a $500,000 bond. Meanwhile, the family of Tobias have set up a GoFundMe page asking for donations to pay for medical expenses and funeral costs. The family set up a goal of $25,000. They have raised over $7,000 so far. We posted a link to the GoFundMe on our website, ktsm.com. Now to the latest on the McBride wildfire. Crews in Ruidoso tell us that the fire is now 89% contained. Officials say crews are continuing to patrol and monitor flames. We're also learning that a burned area emergency response team will evaluate conditions once the fire is extinguished. That team will then determine which areas are now at risk for increased flooding and rock slides. As some of the wildfires in New Mexico begin to diminish, a wildfire in Arizona is growing in size. The fire, which has been dubbed the Tunnel Fire, has been burned through 24 structures and has forced evacuations of more than 700 homes near Flagstaff. The Forest Service says the flames are as high as 100 feet and have quickly scorched dry grass and pine trees in the area. Crews say weather conditions improved today, but stronger winds are expected to return to the area tomorrow. And Monica, we're also expected to see some of those winds returning to our area. Isn't that right?
That's absolutely right. In fact, we are expecting to see a high wind watch that is going to be taking effect starting Friday. So basically what this means is that we're going to be looking at winds anywhere from 35 to 45 miles per hour. These are sustained winds with gusts anywhere between 50 to 60 miles per hour. So I know this is a little unusual in the sense that we usually see a high wind watch the day before the wind event takes place. We're seeing it 2 days before, and the reason is because we are seeing such dry conditions over much of the borderland region that we want to make sure that we're being as cautious as we can as far as people making sure that they're not sparking any unintentional fire, as it can and will spread rather quickly. But of course, I'm going to be breaking down everything you need to know in your full forecast a little later in this newscast. Andy?
Monica, thank you. Now to a KTSM 9 News investigates. An El Pasoan is raising concerns about a storm drain in his neighborhood, saying it's causing damage to his home. KTSM 9 News reporter Tawny Davis spoke with the man about what he wants to see improved.
For over a year, one man has raised concerns over the storm drain at the corner of Nimitz and Carolina and wants modifications to be done. He says when officials do come by and check on the drain, he is told he needs to be the one to clean up around the area.
Code compliance. They come around and say you have to clean up, but I say, wait a minute, what is the city doing, city code doing about the city themselves? Why not put them in a position where they have to react, because a lot of times they don't do that.
For the 20 years he has lived in his home, he knows of no modifications done to the drain in order to repair it. Now the vegetation is overgrown, the sidewalk is damaged, and trash has been thrown onto the drain. He says that with heavy rains coming soon, it actually damages his home.
Because I've stated to them that dirty water, in which when it clogs up here, this is dirty water, this is nasty water, and it comes into my property. So I'm the one that has to dig and work with my canines here, and it's dirty water. It splashes really all the way across here.
We reached out to EP Water to comment on this, and they gave a statement saying, in part, EP Water has over 7,500 inlets across the city to maintain, along with dozens of ponds and hundreds of miles of channels and drains. We follow a scheduled maintenance plan for these assets, but we also need help from the community to let us know when an area needs attention. We will look into this area and make sure it gets attention. El Paso Water also said they are responsible for maintenance of the inlet and say the sidewalk is responsibility of the adjacent property owner and the street is the responsibility of the city. The man says all he wants for the area is to be repaired and for the necessary precautions to be taken.
Some kind of modification, sometime to fix from the vegetation as far as these cracks that come around here, fix them up.
Tawny Davis, KTSM 9 News.
Tawny, thank you. In just 1 week, a Latina Texas woman is set to be executed. Melissa Lucio from the Rio Grande Valley would be the first Latina to be executed in the state of Texas, but her family and supporters feel she was wrongly convicted. She was convicted of killing her 2-year-old daughter in 2008. Her son has been traveling across Texas, calling on Governor Greg Abbott to stop his mother's execution. Her execution is set for next Wednesday. Over in New Mexico, workplace safety regulators say they have issued the maximum possible fine against a film production company. This after an investigation into the shooting death of Halyna Hutchins on the set of the movie Rust. Actor Alec Baldwin was one of the producers and the star of the film. He was holding the gun finding in rehearsal when it fired a live round, killing Hutchins. The company has 15 days to either pay the fine or contest the citation. Coming up, remembering a local legend, how El Paso ISD plans to honor the late great Coach Jim Forbes. Plus, setting the bar high, how people in Las Cruces celebrated its first cannabis festival. You're watching KTSM 9 News at 10.